Hey, so this is what I look like without a mask. So today we're going to be extending our fruit fly cultures and using stuff we have at home, mostly. So we're going to use some sugar, a banana, some vinegar. You can use apple cider, or I use white because it's all I have right now. Some cinnamon, ground cinnamon. Dollar store works fine. Some instant potato. You just want to make sure that it's the plain one, no garlic obviously or anything like that in it. And then some yeast. I use just baking yeast. You only need a little bit, it'll last forever. I'm gonna pretend it didn't fall. Need some deli cups. I've already labeled them for what I'm gonna split off here and plant. For the adult flies to crawl on, you need something to put in there to keep them off the media. I do use Excelsior, which is like a wood fiber kind of thing. It's very messy, it's a pain in the butt. What you can also use, and I had good results with it, coffee filters. I use the unbleached ones, so just regular old thing. And then all I do is just fold them in half again, and then just twist the end so you can stick it into the media. You can flare these out a little bit so they have more surface area to crawl on. All right, I think that's it. Obviously you need flies. I have an old, what am I thinking? Heidi eye culture here that I made. I made this November 7th, and it's pretty much on its way out. I have from November 11th, I have a small one. They don't last as long, obviously. Of the flightless melanogasters, and then I have also from the 7th of November a culture of the wingless melanogasters. So that's what I'm going to be making new cultures of today. I do, if I get in a culture from someplace that I bought on Amazon, I usually do pour off the adult flies as soon as I get them. I've never had good results with their cultures not growing mold. So I just transfer the flies to media that I make, and everything seems to work well. And if you can see, this is an old culture, but I hope it's focusing in there. There's a ton of flies in here. And after I do split them, I will keep the ones, like if I look, it looks like I poured off all the flies. I don't know why it's focusing there. Thinks it's a face apparently. So I do keep these for like a week or two, unless they're obviously dried out and all brown. Because if there's any other larvae that are still living in the wet media, they will pupate and become more flies. You also are going to need some hot water that I have going back there. So I'm going to zoom in on the table a little bit closer, and we'll start making the media. One thing I do with the banana is while it's still in the skin, I kind of just squeeze it, makes it so it will mush easier. So I guess while we're up here, I'll just do this since it's already done. You can use, you also need a bowl, spoon, or a fork, whatever you'd like. And then I just plop the banana in. It always comes out in one piece, except for now, of course. There we go. All right, let me grab the hot water, and then I'll zoom in on the table. All right, so here I just kind of mushed up the banana. It doesn't need to have all the chunks out of it. When you mix it with the potato, that'll help to break it down more. So that's how it starts. Almost fell over here. So I don't really measure anything. So it's really not that difficult. I start by adding the potato. And it depends. So for 4 cultures, probably like a cup and a half or so. That might not be enough, but we'll see. All right, so there's that. Just need to find a place to put it. My apartment is tiny, so it is what it is. For the cinnamon, I kind of add just about maybe half a teaspoon. So the cinnamon, makes it not stink when it's kind of starting to convert over. I don't know if it's fermenting or whatever, but it can kind of stink. So the cinnamon helps with that. It also helps to stop mold. It inhibits mold growth, which is also why we're using the vinegar and the yeast. And then so for the sugar, I put about 3/4 the amount of the potato that I put in. There is sugar in the banana as well. You don't have to use the banana. I just started doing it, and I think it adds a little more moisture. It keeps the media a little wetter while it's there. So, all right, and then about a tablespoon of vinegar or so. Again, like when I cook, I don't measure anything. So then I just mix this up. So here's where you can get rid of the chunks in the banana just by mixing it in with the potatoes. And then you kind of just make it like you're making instant potatoes. And by using the hot water. So when it gets lumpy like this is when I start to add the water. And you do need a lot more water than you think you would. It was boiling. So I'm going to start with about that much. It'll look watery at first. The potatoes will definitely absorb the moisture, and a fork sometimes works better here, but I hate doing dishes, so I'm just going to stick with the spoon that was already dirty. And once you get good at making the culture, you'll be able to smell. Sorry for the pounding there. You'll be able to smell, and you'll know if your mixture is right or not with the cinnamon and the vinegar. So I do try to keep my hands out of it as much as I can. You don't want to get any, if you have any mold spores in your house, which we all do, you just don't want bacteria and mold in there. I'm going to add a little more vinegar and a little more cinnamon. That may have been overkill. So the amount that you add is going to obviously depend on the amount of potato you use. I'm going to thin it out a little more. I think that should be good. Alright, so the consistency you want, you don't want it too dry, but you don't want it too wet. Because if it's too wet, the adults can drown. And I think so can the larvae. So this is pretty good. So it's like a mashed potato consistency. All right, so then I'm gonna set this aside here. And then we're gonna spoon it into our containers. I try not to get it on the sides, but it doesn't always come off very easily. So I like to do about 1 to 1.5 inches on the bottom. It depends on how well I measure. I'm just going to put about half of that one in there because I don't have enough for all 4, I don't think. It's going to be short. Stick a little more in the wingless. I'm just going to put whatever's on my spoon. You should be using another spoon for this, but I'm just going to use my finger. All right, so that's that. That was all of it. So you'll get to know how much it'll make as you go. All right, and then what I do is I just kind of smack it on the table. Gets rid of all the air bubbles. I put more in my Fruitflycultures because I use those most. I don't have many things that do eat the melanogasters, and then I find the wingless melanogasters are a good size in between the regular the flightless melanogasters, which seem to be smaller. So when I start things, I start them on the flightless, and then I go to the wingless, and then up to these guys, the Heidi. So once these are all kind of nice and flat here, I just take some of the Excelsior, and I just, you have to cut it, or I cut it. If you pull it, it's a pain. And then just kind of mush it just so it sticks in, and that's just to keep it in place while you're tapping your flies out. And then as soon as it's done, you want to throw a cover on. You don't have to put the cover all the way on, just to cover it so you don't get any wild flies that like to dive bomb. In the winter, it's not that big of a deal, but in the summer, you know, I think we all have some fruit flies from time to time. All right, and then I'll just show you the one. It's going to be a Heidi culture that's going to have these. So then, where we have that little twisted end, you just stick it right in. Usually about 4 of them. It fits a deli cup pretty well. I think this is a 32 ounce. Yeah, I'm just going to use 4. So that's how far down I push them, and then that's what it looks like on the inside. So the flies crawl over the paper, and they'll lay their eggs in the media. All right, last one. It's going to be some more Excelsior. And now we just let these cool. Before you add the flies, obviously. See, the Excelsior makes a mess. All right, so we're gonna let those cool, and then when we come back, I will be adding the flies to these guys. All right, so welcome back. What I forgot to do, it doesn't matter if you do it then or now, but is just add a little bit of yeast. And I don't know if you can see, they're like little tiny grains of sand. What I do, I just drop maybe 10 of them on top of the media. I have to remember to do that with each one because I usually, like I said, already have them prepared. So this is one of the Fruitflycultures. And so we're just going to take the cover off. And as you know, you have to work fast. A good tip is you can put a little bit of water in the sink, and you can put this right in the water, and then that way anything that gets out isn't going to be all over your house. And then just give it a good tap. Makes all the flies fall down to the bottom. Pull the cover off, and then I just tap them in. Usually about 30 to 40 flies is great. And then tap to keep them in and put the cover on. And there you go. Just put it on a shelf, room temperature, and you're good. Depending on the species, the Hydei seem to take about a month to really start producing well. Here's the second Hydei. The melanogaster usually about 2 weeks and you have a good culture going. I don't want to put all of them in there because I am still feeding these guys off. But for the other two, since it's like the end of the culture, the media is all dried up. Sorry. There we go. There are my 2 Hydei. And I still have that one. So this will probably go another week or so. It just, so when they're pretty much done, you can see here, there's no liquid, there's no moist culture in the bottom, any of the media. So this one still has about a week. It does turn dark brown like this. Don't worry, that's not mold. Like if it's mold, you'll see it. It's fuzzy, obviously. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to still feed off of this one. But I split them about every 2 weeks once they start going pretty well. This is the flightless one. I hate the flightless flies. Even though they're flightless, they still glide, as well as if you keep them too warm. The same thing with the Hydei. If you keep them too warm, yeah, see them? They're like flying out of the cup. And it's okay if you get some of the old. If they start coming, just give it a tap. I don't think there's any more in there. Alright, so that culture is gone. This guy is now sealed. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, if you keep the culture's too warm, I think it's above 84 degrees, it might be 87, they will fly again. Something to do with the genes, I don't really know. But, so there's that, and then the wingless. Again, this wingless culture didn't do very well. I don't know why. Like, there are tons of I don't know if you can see, you can actually see the trails from the larvae. It just didn't do great. I mean, you can see that there are pupa cases all over there from where it did hatch last time. So there's not too many left in here, so I'm just going to try and tap all these out. I am still feeding these. Some of the Brunners are still small enough that they will only take these guys. And these are the wingless. I like them. As you can see, they don't fly at all. They don't have wings. And I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, the more flies you add to a culture, the more offspring you're gonna get sooner. There's a couple left. All right, so there we go. I am gonna keep this one just in case it still produces. So this ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. Once you start making these at home, they don't take that long. The longest part is just waiting for it to cool. I don't know, I might have 30 flies in here, maybe 40. That's it. I do put them on my shelves according to date, so that way I always know that I have some there. If I'm running low, I know I need to either buy some. Alright, I hope this helped, and if you have questions, let me know. And as always, there are plenty of babies.